Before we begin, this broadcast is a fictional audio drama created for entertainment purposes. Good evening, I'm John Vale, and you're listening to Fictional Radio. We are beginning tonight with a developing story from the international astronomy community. At first glance, this appeared to be a deep space observation issue. That is how the first notices came into the newsroom. A telescope discrepancy, a possible sensor artifact, something unusual in outer system tracking data, but not necessarily something the public needed to be concerned about. That has changed. About 90 minutes ago, the Ardent Deep Sky Array in northern Chile detected what it described as a cluster of anomalous optical signatures near Jupiter's orbital path. Not near Jupiter itself exactly, but in the wide region of space where long-range surveys track objects moving through the outer solar system. The first assumption was instrument noise. The second assumption was a swarm of small objects, possibly debris, possibly comet fragments, possibly a known body being incorrectly resolved by the array. Then the Toba Radio Observatory in Indonesia reported narrowband radio bursts from the same region. Then the Crown Meridian Telescope in Namibia recorded coordinated changes in brightness, as if multiple objects were adjusting orientation or propulsion. Then 3 civilian asteroid tracking networks reported something that has now brought governments into emergency session. The objects slowed down, not drifted, not curved around a gravity well, slowed down deliberately. The term being used in the initial technical bulletin is non-ballistic deceleration. That means the objects are not moving the way natural debris should move. They are not simply falling around the sun, crossing an orbit, or breaking apart. They appear to be reducing velocity in a controlled way. Now, I want to be careful right away. We do not have public confirmation that these are spacecraft. No agency has used that word officially. We do not have confirmation of hostile action. We do not have confirmation that Earth is under threat, but multiple observatories across several continents are now tracking objects near the outer solar system that appear to be moving under intelligent control. That alone would make this historic. But the bigger development came about 40 minutes ago when the Hawthorne Deep Space Relay received a structured transmission, not a burst of noise, not a repeating beacon. A structured transmission. The transmission was received simultaneously by Hawthorne, by the Kagami Lunar Listening Station, and by a research relay attached to the Europa mapping probe. The message was not in any human language, obviously. It was mathematical at first, then symbolic, then, according to the preliminary translation team, legal. Legal, that is the word one translator used. Not greeting, not warning, legal. The first message received by humanity from an apparent non-human intelligence appears to be a notice of jurisdiction. I'm going to bring in Mara Ellison, who is with me at the desk tonight. Mara, before we get into the translated language, I want you to help set the emotional ground here, because people hear alien signal and imagine one kind of story. This is already something stranger.
It is stranger because it is not starting with wonder. That's what stands out to me. People have imagined first contact for generations as a greeting, or a threat, or maybe a question, a voice saying hello, a ship appearing over a city, a message about peace, a message about conquest, something emotionally recognizable. But this begins like paperwork. That is deeply unsettling. If the preliminary translation is right, then the first thing humanity receives from beyond Earth is not "we come in peace" or "prepare for war." It is more like "you have been classified and your status now carries obligations." That makes Earth feel very small. Not because aliens are attacking us, because they are processing us. Like we have entered a system we did not know existed, and now the system is informing us that our ignorance does not exempt us from its rules. That is terrifying in a different way. It is not the terror of invasion. It is the terror of being found by bureaucracy older than your civilization.
That is exactly the feeling in the room right now. The translation is preliminary. I want to stress that. Teams from several agencies and universities are working from mathematical structure, repeated identifiers, and contextual references that are still being debated. But the core meaning appears stable enough that governments have been briefed. The transmission identifies Earth as Sol. 3, it refers to humanity, or perhaps Earth's technological civilization, as a biological local emergence. It refers to satellites, probes, radio emissions, nuclear signatures, and planetary orbital infrastructure as evidence of provisional territorial capacity. And then it says this: Sol, 3, biological civilization is acknowledged as provisional local authority over inhabited body Sol. 3, and associated near-orbital instruments, recognition is limited and conditional. Under emergency corridor statute, local authority must declare access status before transit window closure. I'm going to read that again. Sol 3 biological civilization is acknowledged as provisional local authority over inhabited bodies. Sol 3 and associated near orbital instruments. Recognition is limited and conditional. Under emergency corridor statute, local authority must declare access status before transit window closure. That is the first confirmed translated passage. Sol 3 biological civilization, provisional local authority. Recognition limited and conditional. Emergency corridor statute. Declare access status, transit window closure. Those terms are not yet fully understood, but officials believe the transmission is not merely identifying Earth, it is asking Earth to make a declaration. A legal declaration, possibly a military one. The source of the message identifies itself in translation as the Meridian Compact. We do not yet know what the Meridian Compact is. The translation team believes it may be a coalition, alliance, governing body, treaty system, or military authority. The word compact is a human rendering. The original term seems to mean something between agreement, body, bound order, and law-bearing coalition. The message does not ask whether humans want contact. It does not ask whether we understand. It does not ask whether we consent. It says we are acknowledged as provisional local authority and must declare access status before the transit window closes. The immediate question is, access to what? And that is where the situation becomes more concerning. The message references what is being translated as the Meridian Corridor, a gravitational transit path that appears to pass through or near our solar system. The current working theory is that the corridor is not a physical road, obviously, but a navigational route using the Sun, Jupiter, and possibly outer planetary gravity wells or fields we do not understand as anchor points for faster or more efficient interstellar transit. That is speculative. But the language of the message suggests our solar system lies along a route of strategic importance. A route involved in a conflict. The message uses the phrase emergency corridor statute. Emergency in legal context usually means normal conditions have failed. So this may not be a routine first contact notice. This may be a wartime transit notice. Again, no official has confirmed war, but the word emergency is present. The objects near Jupiter may be related, and the message is asking Earth to declare access status. We are waiting for an official government statement. The United Nations Security Council has entered closed emergency session. Major space agencies are coordinating through an international astronomical response group. Military space commands are on alert, but we are told there is no change to nuclear posture and no confirmed threat to Earth's surface. That is important. No confirmed threat to Earth's surface, no public evacuation guidance, no emergency shelter order, no reason for panic buying road congestion or local emergency calls. This is a space and diplomatic emergency at the moment, not a local public safety emergency. At the moment, those words matter.
I want to stay with the phrase provisional local authority because I think that is the most insulting part of the message, even though it sounds dry. It means they are not recognizing humanity as equals. They are not saying, welcome sovereign civilization. They are saying more or less, you appear to have enough control over your planet and nearby machines that we are going to hold you responsible for this area. It is recognition, but not respect. It is enough recognition to assign blame, enough recognition to demand an answer, enough recognition to make Earth liable under a law we did not know existed, but not necessarily enough recognition to protect us. And I think that is where the fear comes in. Earth has apparently been noticed at exactly the level where we can be held responsible, but not necessarily at the level where our consent matters. That is a nightmare. It is like a child walking into a courtroom and being told, you are now a party to this case. The child says, I don't understand the law. And the court says, that does not change your deadline.
That is the clearest way to put it. Earth has a deadline. We do not know how long. The phrase before transit window closure has a time component embedded in the message, but translating it into Earth hours is not yet precise. Early estimates range from 12 to 36 hours. That is a large range, too large for comfort. The International Response Team is trying to determine whether the message itself includes a countdown or whether the countdown depends on orbital mechanics related to the objects near Jupiter. We are now receiving a new update from the Arden Deep Sky Array. The anomalous objects are not one cluster. There are at least 3 separate groups. One group appears to be decelerating near Jupiter's orbital path. A second, smaller group is farther out beyond Saturn. A third signature is intermittent. possibly behind solar interference, possibly between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. That third reading is uncertain. No confirmed object is near Earth. Let me repeat that. No confirmed object is near Earth. The closest anomalous signatures are in the outer solar system. However, if these are advanced craft, distance may not mean what we think it means. We cannot assume their travel times match human spacecraft. That does not mean they can appear instantly. It means we do not know. The Kagami Lunar Listening Station has now detected a second transmission. This one is not from the same source. It uses a different mathematical handshake, different compression structure, and what translators are calling a more urgent grammar. The source identifies itself as the Vale astral front. Again, that is a translation approximation. The message is shorter. I am being handed the preliminary translation now. It says, Seoul local authority must not comply with compact transit demand. Recognition is not protection. Corridor access is annexation by procedure. Any access declaration enabling compact movement will be treated as military alignment. I'm going to read that again. Seoul local authority must not comply with compact transit demand. Recognition is not protection. Corridor access is annexation by procedure. Any access declaration enabling compact movement will be treated as military alignment. That is the second message. From a second apparent non-human authority, the Meridian Compact tells Earth to declare access status under emergency corridor law. The Vale astral front tells Earth not to comply, says recognition is not protection, calls corridor access annexation by procedure, and warns that allowing compact movement will be treated as military alignment. This is now a diplomatic crisis. Maybe a military crisis. Earth has received legal demands from one side and a warning from another. We do not understand the law. We do not understand the corridor, but both sides appear to believe Earth's answer matters, or at least can be used. That is the danger.
So Earth is being asked to take a side before it even knows what the sides are. That's what this is, and I think the public needs to understand that silence may also be interpreted as a side. That's how these things work. Even in human politics, you don't answer a deadline, someone claims your silence means consent, or refusal, or default, or obstruction. And now imagine that logic at interstellar scale, with legal systems older than our languages and military forces sitting near Jupiter. This is not just, do we answer aliens? It is, if we answer, what did we just agree to? If we don't answer, what do they claim we agreed to by default? If we say neutral, do they recognize neutrality? If we say we don't understand, do they care? And there's something else. The Vale message says recognition is not protection. That feels like a warning from someone who has seen this process before. Maybe they are trying to manipulate us. Maybe they are the worst side. We don't know. But that sentence sounds like experience. Recognition is not protection. That is the kind of line people say when a legal process has hurt them before.
That is exactly what analysts are now debating. The Vale astral front may be protecting Earth from compact legal manipulation, or it may be attempting to prevent Earth from cooperating with a lawful authority, or both. We do not know who is right. We do not know whether either side is morally credible. We do not know whether their names even reflect political reality. The Meridian Compact may call itself lawful because it wrote the law. The Vale astral front may call itself resistance because it opposes the compact. That does not automatically make one side just and the other unjust. Human history should make us very cautious here. Every empire has paperwork. Every rebellion has slogans. Every side says necessity. What we know is this. Earth has been placed inside a conflict framework. The compact demands an access declaration. The Vale warns that access equals alignment. No human government has agreed to anything yet. The United Nations emergency session is ongoing. The objects near Jupiter continue controlled deceleration. And now, for the first time in history, humans are not asking whether we are alone. We are asking what liabilities come with being noticed. We have a new statement from the International Astronomical Coordination Group. They confirm that the anomalous objects near Jupiter are emitting controlled thermal signatures inconsistent with natural bodies. They are not calling them spacecraft, but the phrase artificial origin is strongly indicated appears in the statement. Artificial origin is strongly indicated. That is as close as scientists are willing to go publicly. We also have reports that several deep space probes have entered safe mode after receiving high-energy directional signals. The Europa mapping probe is still functioning but has lost 2 sensor packages. The outer heliosphere surveyor is transmitting intermittently. A private asteroid mining test satellite near the main belt has stopped responding. We do not know if these are attacks, interference, or collateral effects from communication systems far beyond our design tolerance. Again, no confirmed attack on Earth, but human machines in deep space are being affected. That may matter legally, too. The compact message refers to associated near-orbital instruments, but Earth has instruments far beyond near-orbit, probes, satellites, surveyors, relays. If alien law recognizes those as part of human territorial capacity, Earth's footprint may be larger than we think, or smaller. Maybe they barely recognize any of it. That is part of the problem. We do not know where we exist in their law. We have more on the phrase access status. Translators now believe there are at least 3 possible categories embedded in the compact message: open passage, denied passage, restricted passage, but there may also be a default state if no declaration is made. The default is being translated uncertainly as unopposed transit under emergency statute. That means if Earth does not answer, the compact may claim the right to pass anyway. If Earth denies passage, the compact may treat that as obstruction of emergency transit. If Earth opens passage, the Vale may treat Earth as aligned with the compact. If Earth restricts passage, both sides may reject the restriction. That is not a menu of choices. That is a trap. We have no reason to believe Earth can enforce any declaration physically. We cannot stop objects near Jupiter from using a corridor we do not understand. We cannot patrol the solar system. We cannot defend a gravitational transit path. We can barely reach Mars with robots and years of planning. But law does not always require power to create consequence. Sometimes it only requires a signature. The compact may not need Earth to enforce access. It may need Earth to acknowledge access. The Vale may not fear Earth's weapons. It may fear Earth's legal status being used to legitimize compact movement. Earth may be valuable not as an ally, but as a stamp. That is one of the leading interpretations right now. Mara, I want you to sit with that for a moment. Earth as a stamp, not a partner.
It is humiliating, and it is dangerous, because humiliation can make leaders reckless. If governments feel insulted, they may want to prove Earth is sovereign. If militaries feel dismissed, they may want to demonstrate capability. If populations feel afraid, they may demand defiance, even if defiance has no practical force behind it. But the other extreme is dangerous too, surrendering the language of sovereignty just because the other side is bigger. We are in this awful middle space where Earth has to speak with dignity without pretending it has power it does not have. That is hard for humans. We are not good at being small. We are either grandiose or ashamed. But tonight we may need a third posture, honest smallness. Something like, we do not understand your war, we did not consent to your law, we cannot enforce your corridor, and we will not knowingly become a military participant in a conflict we discovered an hour ago. That sounds weak if you think power only means force. But morally it is strong, because it refuses the frame. It says we are not a stamp, we are not a corridor office, we are not a supply participant, we are not an unclaimed rock. We are a living world, and you do not get to draft a living world with paperwork.
That may become the central human position. You do not get to draft a living world with paperwork. We have a new development from the United Nations emergency session. A draft statement is being circulated among member states. We do not have the final text, but diplomatic sources say it includes 4 points. Earth does not recognize any external legal authority over the solar system without informed consent. Earth does not consent to military use of the solar system by any belligerent party. Earth requests immediate clarification of the nature of the conflict, the corridor, and the consequences of any access declaration. Earth asserts humanitarian neutrality toward any non-combatant biological life. That 4th point is interesting, humanitarian neutrality. It may become important later. The draft is not final. Several governments object to language denying passage because they fear it may provoke the compact. Others object to language that sounds like neutrality because they fear the Vale will interpret anything short of denial as complicity. Some want Earth to remain silent until more is known. Others argue silence may trigger default transit. There is no consensus yet. There may not be time for consensus. The compact deadline remains uncertain. The Vale warning remains active. The objects near Jupiter continue to slow. A smaller signature beyond Saturn appears to have changed heading slightly according to early data. The solar system is no longer an empty stage. It is a disputed route. We are now receiving reports of widespread public reaction, vigils outside observatories, crowds near government buildings, panic buying in some cities, online rumors claiming alien ships over major capitals. False as far as we can verify. No confirmed objects in Earth orbit beyond known satellites and normal debris. Please do not spread fake images. Please do not point lasers at the sky. Please do not call emergency services asking whether aliens are coming to your town. There is no local shelter order. There is no instruction to evacuate. This is a global diplomatic and space monitoring emergency. Local panic will only make human response worse. We have listener messages coming in from around the world. I'll read one from Nairobi. My son asked if the aliens are angry at us. I didn't know what to say. That may be one of the saddest things tonight, because based on what we know, they may not be angry at us. And that may be worse. The compact is not speaking like an angry invader. The Vale is not speaking like an alien monster. They are speaking like political actors in a war where Earth is strategically located. The fear is not that they hate humanity. The fear is that they do not consider humanity central enough to hate. Earth may simply be useful in the way a bridge is useful, in the way a port is useful, in the way a road is useful. And roads are damaged in wars all the time, not because anyone hates the road, because armies need to move. That is the scale of the danger.
I think that is what people are going to struggle with most. We are used to imagining ourselves as the center of contact. If aliens come, they come for us, to teach us, to conquer us, to study us, to save us, to judge us. But this version says maybe they came because of geography, cosmic geography, but still geography. We are near the road that is terrifying because it removes the comfort of importance. If someone hates you, at least you matter to them. If someone invades you, at least you are the target. But if a war sweeps through because your star sits along a transit corridor, then your fear is almost incidental to the people causing it. And I think the human response has to begin by refusing to accept incidental status, not by pretending we are powerful, but by insisting that life is not incidental just because it is small. Earth may be young by their standards. We may be technologically primitive. We may not understand their law, but there are children here, hospitals, cities, forests, oceans, languages, animals, people who woke up this morning worried about rent, school, traffic, medicine, dinner, and love. That matters. It has to matter. Even if we are standing beside a road we did not know existed.
That is the human claim. Life matters even when it is not strategically important. We have another update from the translation team. A third signal has been detected. This one is different from both the compact and Vale transmissions. It is weaker, slower, and heavily encoded in mathematical structures that translators say feel less like direct communication and more like classification. The source is unknown, but the message header, if translated correctly, refers to something called the silent courts. That name has not appeared in either prior message, but both the compact and the Vale transmissions include references to arbitration, statute, recognition, and lawful status. Some analysts believe the silent courts may be a neutral or ancient legal body whose classifications are recognized by multiple factions. That is speculative. But the third message appears to classify Earth's status. The preliminary translation reads, Sol, 3 emergence registered, local authority provisional, informed consent absent, belligerent corridor claim active, counterclaim active, jurisdictional duress possible. Jurisdictional duress possible. That phrase is causing immediate attention. In human legal terms, duress means pressure that may invalidate consent. If Earth is being forced to choose under threat from both sides, then any access declaration may not be freely given. If the silent courts recognize that, Earth may have a legal path. Maybe, again, we are stacking translations on alien law we barely understand, but this may be the first signal not demanding something from Earth. It may be classifying the situation, Sol, 3 emergence registered, local authority provisional, informed consent absent, belligerent corridor claim active, counterclaim active, jurisdictional duress possible, the word possible matters, not confirmed, possible. Maybe Earth can argue duress. Maybe Earth can argue that it cannot be bound by a declaration made under threat without understanding in an emergency. Maybe that is what the UN draft statement needs to become. Not open, not denied, not neutral in the usual sense. Under duress, we are now hearing diplomatic sources say the draft statement is being revised. The phrase unincorporated sentient jurisdiction under duress is being discussed. That may sound absurdly bureaucratic, but tonight, bureaucracy may be the shield. If the war is legalistic, Earth may need legal language to survive. The irony is almost unbearable. The first alien contact is paperwork. And the first human defense may be a footnote. We are waiting now for an official statement from the United Nations. The objects near Jupiter continue to decelerate. The Vale signal has not repeated. The compact has issued one short follow-up. Transit window narrows. Local declaration required. No additional explanation. The silent quartz signal has not repeated. Earth is now in the position of trying to answer one side, avoid provoking another, and persuade a third that we are too uninformed to be conscripted into a war by procedure. That is where part one of this emergency broadcast leaves us. No ships over cities, no explosions, no invasion footage, no dramatic sky, just telescopes watching impossible motion near Jupiter. Radio stations receiving alien legal language. Governments arguing over words that may determine whether Earth is considered neutral, complicit, obstructive, or under duress. And billions of people learning that the universe was not empty, it was busy, it was organized. It was already at war. And tonight, it found our address. This is John Vale with Mara Ellison. You're listening to Fictional Radio. We will continue. Good evening. I'm John Vale, and you're listening to Fictional Radio. We are continuing our live coverage of the deep space emergency now unfolding across the solar system. Roughly 2 hours ago, anomalous objects near Jupiter's orbital path were detected by the Arden Deep Sky Array in northern Chile, the Toba Radio Observatory in Indonesia, the Crown Meridian Telescope in Namibia, and several civilian asteroid tracking networks. Those objects appear to be moving under controlled deceleration. The phrase used by scientists is still non-ballistic deceleration. That means the objects are not behaving like natural debris. Since then, Earth has received 3 distinct non-human transmissions. The first came from an entity or coalition translated as the Meridian Compact. The compact message identified Earth as Sol. 3 biological civilizations acknowledged humanity as a provisional local authority and demanded that Earth declare access status under what it called an emergency corridor statute. The second transmission came from a group translated as the Vale Astral Front. The Vale warned Earth not to comply with a compact demand. Their message said recognition is not protection and warned that any declaration enabling compact movement would be treated as military alignment. The third transmission came from an apparent neutral or legal authority translated as the Silent Courts. The Silent Courts message classified Earth's situation with the phrase jurisdictional duress possible. That may become the most important phrase of the night, because if Earth is being asked to make a legal or military declaration under threat, without informed consent, and without understanding the law or the conflict, then Earth may have grounds to refuse the entire framework, not refuse one side. Refuse the premise. That is what diplomats are now trying to formulate. The United Nations emergency session remains active. A revised statement is circulating. According to sources, the language now asserts that Earth does not recognize external belligerent authority over the solar system, does not consent to military corridor use, does not accept liability for a war unknown to humanity until tonight, and considers any demanded access declaration invalid under conditions of jurisdictional duress. That is the legal direction, but while the words are being debated on Earth, the objects near Jupiter are still moving. And now the situation in space has changed. About 12 minutes ago, the Kagami Lunar Listening Station detected a burst of high-energy interference across several deep space bands. Almost immediately afterward, the Europa mapping probe stopped transmitting its primary telemetry stream. The probe is not destroyed as far as we know. It is sending intermittent emergency packets, but 2 of its navigational sensors and 1 imaging system are offline. At nearly the same time, observatories tracking the outer system objects recorded a sudden flash near the leading compact associated cluster. Again, we are being careful with language. No agency has confirmed weapons fire. No agency has confirmed a battle, but astronomers have detected sudden energy release near the region where controlled objects are decelerating, followed by debris-like signatures spreading outward. If this were happening near Earth orbit, we would call it an engagement because it is happening near Jupiter. Officials are still saying unconfirmed high-energy event. That is the phrase. Unconfirmed high-energy event. The universe has a way of making language feel small. Mara, before we continue with the technical timeline, I want you to help make this human again, because I think people are hearing Jupiter and probes and corridor law, and it can all feel remote. But this is no longer just a message. Something may now be happening inside our solar system.
Right. And I think the important thing is that distance is not comfort tonight. Jupiter sounds far away because to us, It is impossibly far. It takes our machines years to get there. It is a place of probes, not people. But if these civilizations are using the solar system as a corridor, then Jupiter may not be far away in their terms. It may be an entrance, a checkpoint, a bend in the road. So when we hear about an energy flash near Jupiter, we should not imagine a distant astronomy curiosity. We should imagine the first sign that the war everyone keeps talking around may already be touching the outer edge of the space we live in. And I want to say something else. People are going to ask, are we under attack? That is a fair question. The answer right now appears to be no, not directly. But there is another question. Are we in the battle space? And the answer to that may be yes. That is the terrifying difference. You can be in danger without being the target. You can be hit by a war that did not begin with you, does not care about you, and may not stop for you unless some law, some calculation, or some act of mercy forces it to. That is what makes tonight so frightening. Earth is not being invaded in the way people imagined. Earth is being included, and inclusion in this case may be a form of danger.
Earth is being included. Yes, that is the nightmare. We have a new official statement from the International Astronomical Coordination Group. I'll read the key portion. Multiple observatories have detected transient high-energy optical and radio events in the outer solar system, spatially correlated with previously identified anomalous controlled objects. Analysis is ongoing. At this time, there is no evidence of inbound hostile action toward Earth. Again, no evidence of inbound hostile action toward Earth. That sentence is meant to reassure. It does, somewhat, but it also confirms the high-energy events. The group continues, civilian observers are advised not to rely on unverified sky imagery circulating online. Several false images purporting to show visible objects near the Moon or Earth orbit are fabricated. That is important. There are no confirmed alien ships visible over cities. There is no confirmed object near the Moon besides known satellites and debris. There is no public evidence of craft in Earth atmosphere. Do not spread fake images. Do not go outside expecting to see a fleet. This is an outer system event and a communications event, not an atmospheric event. At least right now. We have new translation from the Vale Astral Front. Their second message has arrived. It is longer than the first. I'm going to read it slowly. Saul Local Authority, compact transit claim is active military deception. Emergency statute has been invoked across non-consenting systems before armed passage. Do not declare open access. Do not provide navigational confirmation. Do not permit compact vessels to bind Saul recognition to transit legality. If compact vessels enter inner anchor range, all aiding jurisdictions will be targeted as supply structure. That is the Vale message. Aiding jurisdictions will be targeted as supply structure. That is a threat, maybe a warning, maybe both. The Vale are saying that if Earth helps the compact or allows the compact to use Earth's recognition to legitimize transit, Earth may become a target. They refer to inner anchor range. Translators believe that may mean a region closer to the Sun, perhaps involving Mars, Earth, Venus, or the solar gravity well more broadly. We do not know. The phrase "do not provide navigational confirmation" is being studied. It may mean that any response from Earth could help the compact refine its legal or physical claim to the corridor. That raises a terrifying possibility. Even answering the first message may have value, not because Earth can physically open or close the corridor, but because Earth's reply may confirm a local authority, and that confirmation may be used by the compact as legal cover. The compact may not need our permission as much as our participation. Even in voluntary participation, that is why the UN language is becoming so careful. They need to speak without being drafted by grammar. We have a compact response now. This came only moments after the Vale message. The compact says, Vale interference constitutes unlawful obstruction of emergency passage. Saul Provisional Authority is required to declare access status. Failure to declare will not suspend compact transit rights. False neutrality will not prevent corridor stabilization. False neutrality, that phrase is aimed directly at Earth. The compact is warning that not choosing may not protect us. It says failure to declare will not suspend compact transit rights. In other words, if Earth refuses to answer, the compact may pass anyway. But if Earth answers incorrectly, the Vale may target us. And if Earth declares neutrality, the compact may call it false. This is the box closing. Mara, I know you had notes on that phrase, false neutrality.
Yes, because that phrase is doing a lot of work. False neutrality is what powerful sides say when they don't want neutrality to be available. It means, if you don't help me, you're helping my enemy. We have heard versions of that in human history, too. The compact is telling Earth that neutrality may not count. The Vale is telling Earth that access equals alignment. So Earth is not being offered peace. It is being offered two accusations: help the compact, and the Vale says we are a supply structure. Deny the compact, and the compact may say we are obstructing lawful emergency passage. Stay neutral, and one side calls it false. Stay silent, and the other side may treat silence as permission or default. That is not diplomacy. That is coercion with formal language. And I think the important thing for listeners is this: the alien legal language may sound advanced, but the pressure is familiar. Bigger powers forcing smaller places to choose. Corridors, access, supply, neutrality, obstruction. We know these words. We have used these words on each other. That may be why it feels so terrible. It is alien, but it is not unfamiliar. It is the oldest political violence in a new sky.
The oldest political violence in a new sky. Yes, that is exactly it. We have a development from the United Nations. The Secretary General is preparing to address the world. The revised statement is expected within minutes. Diplomatic sources say it will not declare open access. It will not declare denied access in the compact's terms. It will not use the compact's access categories at all. Instead, it will assert that Earth lacks informed consent and cannot be compelled into belligerent corridor law. This may be the strongest possible move, refusing the categories: not open, not denied, not restricted, invalid under duress. Whether the compact accepts that is another question. Whether the Vale accepts it is another question. Whether the silent courts recognize it is perhaps the most important question. We are now receiving reports of public demonstrations in several capitals calling for Earth neutrality. Others are calling for no response. Some groups are calling for immediate alliance with the Vale, believing them to be anti-imperial. Others are calling for compliance with the compact, believing legal order is safer than military resistance. This is happening fast, too fast for any public to fully understand, and yet public opinion is forming anyway. That is dangerous. People are selecting sides in a galactic conflict based on two translated messages and fear. Do not do that. We do not know enough. Do not turn the compact into the villain and the Vale into the hero, because one sounds bureaucratic and the other sounds rebellious. Do not turn the Vale into the villain and the compact into the lawful authority, because one warns and one cites statute. We do not know every side in a war writes itself as necessary. Earth's first responsibility is not to solve their history. It is to keep this planet alive and uninvolved if possible. If possible, that phrase keeps shrinking. We have more astronomical data. The energy event near Jupiter appears to have produced several fast-moving fragments. Most are not heading toward Earth. A few are moving inward along trajectories that may cross the inner solar system, but analysts stress that space is vast, and crossing the inner solar system does not mean hitting Earth. However, one fragment or object has changed velocity after the energy event. Changed velocity, that suggests it is not debris. It may be damaged but controlled. Its trajectory is uncertain, but early models suggest it may move inward toward Mars, crossing space within hours or days, depending on propulsion capabilities. No threat to Earth confirmed, but one controlled object may now be moving inward from the outer engagement zone. We do not know if it is compact, Vale, neutral, damaged, hostile, fleeing, or something else. The UN address is beginning. I'm going to summarize live. The Secretary General confirms that Earth has received non-human transmissions from multiple parties. He confirms that translation is preliminary but sufficient to determine that Earth is being asked to respond to a military transit demand. He says no nation and no planetary body has consented to participation in any external conflict. He says Earth does not recognize the authority of any extraterrestrial belligerent to impose obligations upon humanity without informed consent. Now he is using the key phrase, humanity is a sentient civilization under jurisdictional duress. That is the phrase, humanity is a sentient civilization under jurisdictional duress. He continues, Earth will not declare military corridor access. Earth will not provide navigational confirmation. Earth will not accept classification as supply participant, obstructing party or aligned jurisdiction. We request immediate recognition of non-belligerent status by all parties and by any competent neutral authority. That is a strong statement. He is refusing the categories not open, not denied, not neutral in their terms. non-belligerent under duress. He continues, any vessel, object, or force entering near Earth space must refrain from military action and identify itself through peaceful communication. Humanity will provide emergency aid to biological life where doing so does not constitute military participation. There it is. Humanitarian aid, the statement is leaving room to help wounded life, but not military transit. He ends by saying, we did not know of this war. We did not consent to this war. We will not be drafted into this war by procedure. That line will be remembered. We will not be drafted into this war by procedure. The statement is being transmitted toward the sources of all three messages, the Meridian Compact, the Vale Astral Front, and the Silent Quartz Signal Path. Now we wait. Earth has spoken, not as a great power, not as a military equal, not as a side, as a world under duress. The first response comes from the compact. It is short. Duress claim does not void emergency corridor necessity. Sol declaration incomplete. Compact transit rights remain active. The compact rejects the claim, at least initially. The Vale response follows. Sole refusal to provide compact access noted. Humanitarian ambiguity remains. Do not shelter compact military assets. The Vale is not satisfied either. They like that Earth refused access, but they object to humanitarian ambiguity. That means if a wounded compact vessel enters Earth space and Earth helps, the Vale may consider it sheltering a military asset. The trap remains. Now we wait for the silent courts. The silent courts may be the only entity whose classification matters to both sides. If they do not respond, Earth is exposed. If they reject duress, Earth may be forced into the compact framework. If they accept duress, Earth may have some legal shield. The silent court signal is quiet. Observatories are monitoring. Translation systems ready. The entire planet is waiting for paperwork from the stars. And in the outer solar system, something is burning or breaking near Jupiter. We have a new report now from the Crown Meridian telescope. The inward moving controlled object has emitted a distress pattern, not toward Earth specifically, omnidirectional perhaps, weak, damaged. Translators are working. The first phrase coming through appears to be life support compromised. Second phrase, request sanctuary. Request sanctuary. This may be the personal moment of the crisis. A damaged object from the outer engagement zone is moving inward and broadcasting life support compromised, authority unclear. Request sanctuary. We do not know whose vessel it is. We do not know if it contains biological life. We do not know if it is military. We do not know if helping it would align Earth with one side, but Earth just declared humanitarian aid to biological life where possible. And now something is asking for sanctuary. Mara.
That is the nightmare becoming human, or maybe not human, but alive. A minute ago, this was law, corridor status, transit rights, duress claims, military alignment. Now something is damaged and asking not to die. That is where every clean position gets harder. Because if Earth says we will help life, and the first life that asks belongs to the wrong side, what do we do? If we refuse, are we neutral or cruel? If we help, are we humane or drafted? This is how wars capture morality. They take the simplest decent act, help the wounded, and make it evidence of allegiance. And that is what Earth has to resist somehow. Not by refusing care, but by refusing the idea that care belongs to one faction. If we are going to have any dignity in this, maybe it has to be that. We do not open military corridors. We do not provide targeting. We do not join your war. But if something living is dying at our door, we do not let your war tell us that mercy is illegal.
That may be the line Earth is approaching. Mercy is not alignment. Whether the galaxy recognizes that is another question. The damaged object is still far from Earth. It is not in Earth orbit. It is not near the moon. It may not reach inner space for some time, if at all. Its trajectory is uncertain. But the message has changed everything. Request sanctuary. The compact has not commented on the damaged object. The Vale has issued a warning. Sanctuary for compact combatant violates non-belligerent claim. That suggests the Vale believes or claims the object is compact, but the object itself says authority unclear. That could mean it is damaged and cannot identify command, or it could be lying, or the translation is incomplete. The compact now responds, compact asset distress under emergency protection. Local obstruction of recovery constitutes hostile interference. So the compact claims it as an asset. The Vale says sheltering it violates non-belligerence. The compact says obstructing recovery is hostile interference. Earth is being boxed around a wounded vessel before it is anywhere near us. The silent courts remain silent. We are now in the second phase of this crisis. The warning has arrived. The war is no longer abstract. A battle or engagement appears to have occurred near Jupiter. A damaged object is moving inward. Both sides are already making claims over what Earth may or may not do if it reaches us. And Earth's newly declared position, non-belligerent, under duress, humanitarian toward life, closed to military corridor use, is being tested almost immediately. That may not be an accident. This may be how powers force small jurisdictions into alignment. They create a case, a wounded ship, a recovery demand, a warning, a deadline, a legal contradiction. Then whatever the small world does becomes evidence. We need to be clear-eyed. Earth may be manipulated by both sides, but there may also be real lives aboard that object. That is what makes it hard. If it were only law, we could argue. If it were only threat, we could resist. But if life support is failing, then time enters the argument. And time always favors the side with fewer doubts. We have another silent court signal. It is coming in now. The preliminary translation, Saul, 3 duress claim received, belligerent claims active. Sanctuary request registered, provisional review initiated. Not accepted, not rejected, initiated. Another line, Saul, 3 may submit limited humanitarian declaration before inner approach threshold. Limited humanitarian declaration, that may be Earth's next move. A declaration that sanctuary applies only to unarmed rescue, not military protection. Maybe. We do not know if that will satisfy anyone, but the silent courts are listening. That is the first good news in an hour. They registered the duress claim. They registered the sanctuary request. They opened provisional review. A legal shield may be forming slowly, but the objects near Jupiter are not waiting for the law to finish. The damaged object continues inward. The compact cluster continues decelerating. Vale-associated signatures beyond Saturn appear to be spreading, and Earth, for the first time, is not just listening to a galactic war. Earth has been asked to make a moral decision inside it. This is John Vale with Mara Ellison. You're listening to Fictional Radio. We will continue. We are continuing live coverage of the deep space emergency now unfolding across the solar system. Earth has received transmissions from 3 apparent non-human authorities. The first, the Meridian Compact, has demanded that Earth declare access status under what it calls an emergency corridor statute. The second, the Vale Astral Front, has warned Earth not to comply and says any declaration enabling compact movement will be treated as military alignment. The third, the silent courts, appears to be an arbitration or classification authority. It has acknowledged Earth's claim that humanity is under jurisdictional duress and has now opened what it calls provisional review. Meanwhile, astronomers have detected what appears to be a high-energy engagement or collision near Jupiter's orbital region. One damaged object is now moving inward from that outer system area and broadcasting distress phrases translated as life support compromised, authority unclear. Request sanctuary, that object remains far from Earth. Let me say that clearly. It is not near Earth. It is not in Earth orbit. It is not visible in the night sky. There is no instruction for public shelter, evacuation, or local emergency action. But politically, legally, morally, and perhaps militarily, that damaged object has already arrived. Because both sides have now made claims about it, the Vale Astral Front says sheltering the object, which it identifies as a compact combatant, would violate Earth's non-belligerent status. The Meridian Compact says the object is a compact asset under emergency protection and that any obstruction of recovery would constitute hostile interference. So Earth is being told 2 things at once. If we help it, one side may call us an enemy. If we do not help it, the other side may call us an enemy. If we let one side recover it, that may make Earth complicit. If we try to inspect it ourselves, that may be called interference. If we do nothing, lives may die while Earth debates vocabulary. And the silent courts have now invited Earth to submit what they call a limited humanitarian declaration before the object crosses something translated as the inner approach threshold. We are trying to understand that term. The inner approach threshold may refer to the point at which the damaged object enters the inner solar system, perhaps inside the orbit of Mars. It may refer to the moment when Earth's legal obligations or claimed obligations become active. It may refer to a military boundary we do not understand. Whatever it means, there is a deadline. Again, this entire night has been deadlines imposed by powers humanity did not know existed. Declare access status, do not comply, transit window narrowing, duress claim under review, submit humanitarian declaration before inner approach threshold. Earth has spent its entire modern history arguing about borders on land, in oceans, in airspace, in orbit. Tonight we are learning that there are borders in space drawn by other people long before we knew to ask, and we are already late to the hearing. Mara, I want you to take a few minutes here because the listener messages are shifting. Earlier, people were asking if aliens were coming. Now they're asking what Earth should do about the wounded object. That is a very different kind of fear.
It is. And I think it is because fear becomes harder when there is a face, or even the possibility of a face. A legal demand is frightening, but abstract. A war near Jupiter is frightening, but distant. But life support compromised is something humans understand immediately. We have heard those words in hospitals, in submarines, in mines, in spacecraft, in disasters. It means someone is in a place where the walls are keeping them alive and the walls are failing. We do not know who is aboard that object. We do not know if they are innocent. We do not know if they are soldiers. We do not know if they are compact Vale, something else, or if those categories even work the way we think they do. But the phrase request sanctuary has a moral gravity. It pulls at us, and that is what makes it dangerous, because wars know how to use mercy. A wounded ship can be real and still be politically useful. A distress call can be sincere and still force a choice. Helping can be right and still have consequences. Refusing can be strategically cautious and still be a moral failure. This is where Earth's first contact becomes painfully familiar. Not because of aliens, because of the way war tries to corrupt every decent instinct. It tries to make food political, medicine political, shelter political, rescue political, and now sanctuary. If humanity is going to say anything worth saying tonight, I think it has to say that mercy is not enlistment. Helping the wounded is not the same as opening a military corridor. But we also have to be honest that saying that may not protect us. Sometimes the right position is still dangerous. That does not make it wrong. It makes it costly.
Mercy is not enlistment. That phrase is now being echoed by several diplomats, actually. We are seeing it appear in commentary around the revised UN draft. The limited humanitarian declaration is being prepared now. Diplomatic sources say it will likely include 3 core points. First, Earth will not open the Meridian Corridor for military transit, supply transit, or strategic operations by any belligerent party. Second, Earth will not permit recovery, docking, refueling, rearming, data transfer, or military shelter within near-Earth space by any armed vessel. Third, Earth will provide emergency aid to biological survivors only under conditions of disarmament, quarantine, transparency, and non-transfer to belligerent forces until neutral review is complete. That is the balance Earth is attempting. No military corridor, no strategic shelter, emergency aid to life. The problem is enforcement. How does Earth disarm an alien vessel? How does Earth inspect technology beyond human understanding? How does Earth quarantine biological life when we do not know its biology? How does Earth prevent a rescue from becoming military shelter? How does Earth stop either side from using the moment as pretext? We do not have the capability to enforce all of this physically, so the declaration is aimed less at the vessel itself and more at the silent courts. Earth is trying to create a legally recognized humanitarian category before the damaged object arrives. It is asking the galaxy, or at least whatever legal system these powers acknowledge, to recognize mercy as neutral. That is the phrase now circulating among diplomats. Mercy as neutral. If the silent courts recognize it, Earth may gain protection. If they do not, Earth remains exposed. We have an update from the damaged object. The distress signal has repeated now with additional structure. Translation is incomplete, but several phrases are emerging. Atmosphere loss contained. Bio count reduced. Command lattice severed. Pursuit vectors probable sanctuary requested from nearest recognized local authority. Nearest recognized local authority, that means Earth. The damaged object is addressing Earth because the compact transmission recognized Earth as provisional local authority. Recognition is not protection. The Vale said that earlier. Now we understand another layer. Recognition made Earth visible not only to legal demands, but to distress claims. The wounded object is asking us because it has been told, legally or navigationally, that we are the authority here. The compact may have made us responsible. The Vale may punish responsibility. The silent courts may judge responsibility, and we are trying to determine what responsibility even means when the thing asking for help is still somewhere beyond Mars crossing space. The object's phrase, biocount reduced, is grim. It suggests there were living beings aboard and fewer remain alive now. We do not know numbers. We do not know species. We do not know whether the object is a ship, escape craft, military vessel, civilian transport, medical unit, or something with no human equivalent. But life is aboard, or was. We have astronomical data now suggesting the object has altered course slightly toward the inner solar system. It may be attempting to reach Earth's vicinity or simply the nearest stable orbit or communication zone. The compact has now issued a recovery declaration, compact recovery operation authorized. Local authorities shall not impede protected asset retrieval. The Vale responded, compact recovery under sanctuary pretext will constitute corridor breach. Saul must deny approach, so the compact wants to retrieve it. The Vale wants Earth to deny approach. Earth wants to help survivors without becoming a military participant. The silent courts remain in provisional review. This is the diplomatic equivalent of standing in the road between ambulances and tanks while both claim the right to pass. We have public reaction intensifying across Earth. Some groups are demanding that Earth refuse all contact with a damaged object, calling it a trap. Others are demanding immediate rescue preparations, saying Earth cannot begin its galactic life by ignoring a distress call. Some are calling for alliance with the Vale. Others argue the compact's legal system, however coercive, may be the only thing preventing open war. Again, we do not know enough to choose sides. I know people want moral clarity, but moral clarity is not the same as faction loyalty. The moral clarity may be simpler and harder. Do not let Earth be used as a military corridor. Do not let the wounded die if there is a neutral way to help. Do not pretend either alien side has earned our trust. Do not assume legal language equals justice. Do not assume resistance language equals justice either. That may be the best we have. Mara, I know you have a message from someone who works in emergency medicine, and I think it connects to this.
Yes. This is from a trauma surgeon in Cape Town, and I'm going to paraphrase because the message is long. She says basically that in an emergency room, they do not ask whether a bleeding person is good before stopping the bleeding. They stabilize first. But stabilizing someone does not mean you approve of everything they have done. It means you recognize the minimum moral obligation to life before judgment. And I think that is the human instinct Earth is trying to scale up right now. Stabilize first, judge later. But the difficulty is that Earth is not an emergency room in a protected hospital. Earth is a small, newly recognized world inside someone else's battlefield. The ambulance may be tracked, the patient may be armed, the family may be dangerous, the people who injured the patient may still be outside the door. So the emergency room principle still matters. But the building is not safe. That is why the silent courts matter. Earth needs the equivalent of protected medical status before it can act humanely without being punished for it. And I keep thinking about how unfair that is. That Earth's first moral act in the galaxy has to be legally defended before it even happens. But maybe that is what makes it powerful. If humanity can say clearly, under pressure, before all these ancient powers, that wounded life is not a military resource, then maybe Earth enters the galactic record as something other than primitive, useful, or afraid. Maybe we enter as a world that refused to let war define mercy.
That may be exactly the statement the UN is preparing. We have the limited humanitarian declaration now. It has just been transmitted. I'm going to read the key passage. Earth recognized in transmission as Saul. 3, local authority rejects all use of its system, orbital neighborhood, planetary bodies, or instruments for belligerent transit, military supply, targeting recovery, pursuit, or strategic advantage by any party. Earth asserts non-belligerent status under jurisdictional duress. Earth separately declares that emergency aid to biological life in distress shall not constitute military alignment, supply participation, corridor access, or recognition of belligerent claim. Any entity requesting such aid must cease military function, transmit survivor status, accept quarantine, and submit to neutral review. Mercy is not enlistment. There it is. Mercy is not enlistment. That phrase is now part of Earth's transmitted declaration. It has been sent to the Meridian Compact, the Vale Astral Front, the Silent Courts, and the damaged object. The response from the damaged object is nearly immediate. Mercy category received. Military function degraded beyond recovery. Biocount 12 remaining. Non-compatible atmospheric support required. Pursuit probable. Sanctuary request continues. Biocount 12 remaining. There are 12 living beings aboard, according to the signal. Military function degraded beyond recovery. That may be true. It may be strategic, but it is a statement. The compact responds, compact asset remains under compact recovery jurisdiction. Unauthorized quarantine unacceptable. The Vale responds, mercy category rejected if applied to compact combatants. Biological survival does not void military origin. The silent courts have not yet responded. The two belligerents reject Earth's humanitarian category. The wounded object accepts it. The courts are silent. We are now waiting again for the only answer that may matter legally. Meanwhile, the damaged object continues inward. We have a visual confirmation now from the Asterian Solar Survey platform, a solar observation instrument that caught the object crossing a background star field. The image is low resolution. It does not show details, but it confirms the object is not natural debris. It appears elongated, rotating slowly with intermittent emissions from one side. The object is tumbling or partially stabilized. One analyst says it resembles a ship with asymmetric damage. Again, public agencies are not officially calling it a ship, but everyone is now saying object with survivors. That is enough. We have a new high-energy event near Jupiter. This one is larger. Multiple observatories detected a flash, followed by gravitational sensor noise at several experimental stations. Gravitational sensor noise is extremely preliminary and may be unrelated, but the optical and radio flash is confirmed. The outer engagement is continuing. Earth's declaration has not paused the war. That should be obvious, but it is worth saying our words may matter legally, perhaps morally. They do not stop weapons near Jupiter. Another probe has gone silent. The outer heliosphere surveyor has not transmitted in 17 minutes. It may be in safe mode. It may be damaged by interference. We do not know. Humanity's farthest instruments are blinking at a war they were never built to witness, and now the silent courts are responding. The signal is coming through the Kagami Lunar Listening Station and multiple deep space receivers. The preliminary translation, Saul, 3 limited humanitarian declaration received. Duress conditions substantiated for provisional period. Mercy category recognized under restricted sanctuary doctrine. Belligerent retaliation against sanctuary action prohibited pending review. Military exploitation of sanctuary prohibited. Saul, 3 remains non-belligerent under duress. I'm going to read that again. Saul, 3 limited humanitarian declaration received. Duress conditions substantiated for provisional period. Mercy category recognized under restricted sanctuary doctrine. Belligerent retaliation against sanctuary action prohibited pending review. Military exploitation of sanctuary prohibited. Saul, 3 remains non-belligerent under duress. That is a major development. The silent courts have recognized Earth's duress condition for a provisional period. They have recognized Earth's mercy category under restricted sanctuary doctrine. They have prohibited belligerent retaliation against sanctuary action pending review. They have prohibited military exploitation of sanctuary. They have classified Earth as non-belligerent under duress. This is the closest thing to protection Earth has received tonight, not safety. Protection, legal protection in a system we barely understand, from a body we do not know, in a war we did not consent to, but it may matter. The compact responds, compact acknowledges court provisional restriction while preserving transit claim. Vale acknowledges court prohibition while preserving target claim upon violation. Both sides are accepting the court restriction, but reserving claims. That means for now neither side is openly rejecting the silent courts. Earth has a shield. A thin one, a legal one, maybe temporary, but a shield. Mara.
That may be the first breath Earth has taken all night. Not relief exactly, because nothing about this is safe, but breath. The oldest, or at least one of the oldest authorities we've heard from, has said, in effect, this world is under pressure, and helping the wounded does not automatically make it a target. That is not victory, but it is recognition of humanity's moral position. And I think that matters because the compact tried to make Earth a corridor authority. The Vale tried to make Earth choose denial or complicity. Earth said, we are a living world under duress, and we will not let your war decide whether mercy is legal. The silent courts recognize that. Maybe provisionally, maybe coldly, maybe only because the legal conditions were met, but recognized that means Earth has done something tonight besides panic. It has spoken a new category into a system that did not seem to have room for us. That is not power in the military sense. But it is power, the power to define your own moral status before someone else defines it for you.
Earth has spoken a category into the record. That may be how small worlds survive large systems. We now have practical consequences. The damaged object is being instructed by Earth, through the transmitted humanitarian declaration, to approach a designated non-orbital intercept zone outside the Moon's orbit. Human agencies are calling it the Far Mercy Zone. That name is unofficial but already spreading. The zone is positioned far enough from Earth to reduce immediate risk, far enough from critical satellites to avoid accidental collision, and close enough for observation and possible remote aid if any aid is possible. Let's be honest, Earth does not have the technology to dock with an alien vessel moving at unknown velocities and supporting unknown biology. We may not be able to physically help, but the declaration requires the object to cease military function, transmit survivor status, accept quarantine, and submit to neutral review. The object has responded: military function degraded, quarantine accepted, survivor status transmitting. Not biological data we understand yet, but structured life support requirements, atmospheric composition, pressure, temperature, radiation exposure, injury markers maybe. Some of it is being translated through mathematical and chemical constants. Scientists are working at extraordinary speed. The phrase, non-compatible atmospheric support required, suggests the survivors cannot breathe our air and we cannot breathe theirs. Direct rescue may be impossible without specialized containment. Still, Earth can receive data. Earth can transmit stabilization instructions if it understands them. Earth can perhaps provide remote materials, energy, shielding, or trajectory assistance. Maybe nothing, maybe enough. The compact has requested permission to send a recovery craft into the Far Mercy Zone. Earth has denied military recovery during provisional sanctuary. The Vale has requested tracking access to confirm no military transfer. Earth has denied targeting or pursuit data. The silent quartz classification appears to support Earth's denials for now. This is the first time tonight Earth has said no to both sides and not been immediately overruled. That matters. But the transit window is still active. The original compact corridor claim has not been withdrawn. The compact says its transit rights remain. The Vale says target claims remain upon violation. The outer system engagement continues. The damaged object is only one case. The larger war still wants to move. We are receiving new data from observatories near Mars orbit. Several automated Mars satellites have entered protective orientation, likely due to incoming high-energy particles or interference from the outer event. No surface assets have been lost, but communications delays and dropouts are occurring. The solar system is beginning to feel the edges of the war. Not Earth's surface. Not yet, but our machines beyond Earth are being brushed by something enormous. A listener message from Melbourne says, "It feels like finding out the ocean has been full of battleships while we were building sandcastles." That is almost exactly right. Humanity has been building upward, outward, carefully, proudly. Radio telescopes, moon stations, Mars probes, Jupiter missions, deep space relays. We thought of the solar system as vast, silent, mostly ours, in imagination if not in reach. Tonight, we discovered we were building sandcastles near a shipping lane in wartime, and now we are trying to post a sign that says hospital tent, not military checkpoint. That is the scale of the adjustment. We have another silent quartz message. This one is broader. Transit window remains contested. Sol, 3 duress classification applies to local humanitarian action only. Corridor status unresolved. Belligerent passage claims pending. Sol, 3 may not be used as legal consent marker during provisional review. That last sentence is important. Sol, 3 may not be used as legal consent marker during provisional review. The compact cannot use Earth's existence, silence, or partial response as legal consent while review is active. That may block the compact from claiming Earth-authorized passage. The compact will not like that. The Vale may not like it either because it prevents them from treating Earth as a compact supply participant unless Earth violates sanctuary terms. The silent courts have not ended the crisis, but they have slowed the legal machinery that was about to swallow us. That is good, but now a military question remains. Will the compact obey the courts? Will the Vale? So far, both have acknowledged the provisional restriction. But acknowledgement is not compliance forever. The damaged object is now transmitting what appears to be individual survivor markers, 12 life signatures. They are not names, at least not as we understand names, more like identity structures, biological signatures, and role markers. One translation suggests that at least 3 are non-combatant technical personnel, 2 are medical, 4 are command-linked, 3 unknown, again, early. But if accurate, the survivors are not all soldiers in the human sense. or the distinction may not translate. Earth's humanitarian declaration may be tested by the presence of command-link survivors. If a military commander is wounded and helpless, do they receive sanctuary under human law? Yes, if hors de combat, out of the fight. Under alien law, unknown. Under Earth's declaration, the answer appears to be yes, if military function ceases and quarantine is accepted. That may anger both sides, but it is morally consistent. The far mercy zone is now the focus of the next stage. The object is adjusting trajectory toward it. Earth is preparing remote observation assets. The compact and Vale are watching. The silent courts are reviewing, and the transit window continues to narrow. This is the shape of the crisis now. A galactic war has reached the solar system. Earth has refused to be drafted by procedure. Earth has declared non-belligerent duress and restricted humanitarian sanctuary. The silent courts have provisionally recognized that position. A damaged vessel with 12 survivors is approaching under that sanctuary. The war beyond Jupiter continues, and the corridor question remains unresolved. We are no longer merely receiving messages. Earth is now acting carefully, terrified, improvising law in the dark. But acting, this is John Vale with Ellison. We are continuing live coverage of the deep space emergency now surrounding Earth, the solar system, and what appears to be an active interstellar conflict between the Meridian Compact and the Vale astral front. Over the last several hours, humanity has received legal and military transmissions from both sides of a war we did not know existed. The Meridian Compact has claimed emergency corridor transit rights through or near the solar system. The Vale astral front has warned that compact corridor access would make Earth a military participant. Earth has declared itself a non-belligerent world under jurisdictional duress. The silent courts and apparent neutral or legal authority recognized by both sides have provisionally accepted that classification. And now a damaged object from the outer system engagement zone is moving toward a designated humanitarian holding area outside lunar orbit. Human agencies are calling it the Far Mercy Zone. That name began as an informal shorthand from mission planners. It is now appearing in official documents. The Far Mercy Zone is not close to Earth. It is outside the moon's orbit, away from the densest satellite bands, away from major crewed platforms, and positioned so that Earth can observe without immediately exposing the planet to whatever is aboard that object. The object has accepted quarantine. It has transmitted 12 survivor markers. It states its military function is degraded beyond recovery. It continues to request sanctuary. The compact claims the object as a protected compact asset and says unauthorized quarantine is unacceptable. The Vale claims that sheltering compact combatants risks violation of Earth's non-belligerent status. The silent courts have recognized Earth's restricted humanitarian sanctuary, at least for now. So the damaged object is coming in slowly by whatever scale applies to it, not toward Earth's surface, not into atmosphere, not into low orbit, toward the Far Mercy Zone. We have no visual images close enough to show structure, but deep space observatories describe the object as elongated, rotating along an uneven axis with periodic venting from one side and intermittent thermal pulses consistent with internal stabilization systems. That is the human interpretation. It could be a ship, it could be an escape craft, it could be a broken section of something much larger. It could be a lifeboat, a weapon platform, a medical craft, a command module, or something with no human equivalent. We are using the word vessel now because officials are using it privately and because the object contains life. That matters. A rock does not request sanctuary. A piece of debris does not transmit survivor status. A vessel does. The 12 survivors aboard remain unidentified in any human sense. Their life support requirements are being translated through chemical and mathematical constants. Early analysis suggests they require a high-pressure atmosphere not compatible with Earth life, with elevated concentrations of compounds that would be toxic to humans. Their temperature range is lower than ours. Their radiation tolerance appears higher. Their biology, if the translation is accurate, is not carbon identical to terrestrial life, but does involve chemical processes we can partially model. That is the scientific miracle inside the Terror. There is life aboard that vessel, not human, not Earthborn, but life, wounded life. And for the first time in history, Earth is preparing to offer aid to beings from another civilization, while two interstellar military powers argue over whether mercy counts as alignment. I want to bring in Mara here because we've talked a lot tonight about law corridors, duress, and transit windows, but this moment is different. This is the first time humanity's response becomes something other than words.
Yes. And I think people can feel that because until now, most of this has been happening through instruments and language, signals, translations, legal categories, objects near Jupiter, court classifications, things so large and distant that they almost become unreal. But the damaged vessel changes that. It gives the crisis a number small enough for the human mind to hold. 12, not fleets, not civilizations, not factions. 12 living beings in a failing vessel. And I keep thinking that if this were a ship at sea, no decent person would ask first whether the people aboard belong to the right Navy before throwing a line. But this is not the sea, and the line may be seen as military aid. That is the cruelty of war. It tries to turn every rescue into a side. Earth's declaration tonight is trying to say no to that. It is trying to say you may have your war, your claims, your statutes, your corridor rights, your counterclaims, your ancient grievances, but we will not let you own the meaning of helping the wounded. That is a fragile position. Maybe naive, maybe dangerous. But it is also the first thing humanity has said tonight that feels like it belongs to us. Not a reaction to compact law, not a reaction to Vale warning, not a plea to the silent courts, a human line, mercy is not enlistment. And now we have to live by it.
Mercy is not enlistment. That phrase is now in the official Earth Transmission Archive. It is also being carried on screens in several capitals, translated into dozens of human languages, repeated outside observatories, embassies, emergency shelters, and space agency centers. The phrase is becoming Earth's answer to a war that tried to make neutrality impossible. We are now getting an operational update from the International Response Team. 3 uncrewed spacecraft are being prepared for possible launch or remote repositioning. One is an emergency lunar supply vehicle that was scheduled for cargo transfer next month. Another is a high-orbit inspection craft. The third is a private deep space tug built for satellite relocation and debris correction. None of these were designed for alien rescue. None of them can dock with the damaged vessel without extreme risk. But they may be able to carry sensor packages, energy modules, shielding material, chemical samples, or relay equipment to the far mercy zone if the trajectory allows. The timeline is uncertain. The damaged vessel's motion is not fully compatible with human orbital planning. It is still moving far faster than anything we are used to handling near Earth space. Though it appears to be slowing, the vessel has transmitted another phrase, stabilization effort failing, biocount stable at 12, sanctuary approach continuing, biocount stable at 12. That means no additional deaths since the last update. That is good, but stabilization failing is not. Scientists are attempting to respond with translated questions. Can you reduce approach velocity? Can you maintain quarantine? Can you prevent fragmentation? Can you disable all military systems? Can you transmit hazard profile? The vessel answers in fragments. Approach velocity reduction limited. Quarantine accepted. Fragmentation possible if pursuit strike resumes. Military lattice severed. Hazard profile incomplete. That phrase, fragmentation possible if pursuit strike resumes, suggests the vessel fears being attacked before reaching the far mercy zone. The Vale has issued another warning. Compact asset may transmit false non-combat status. Vale pursuit rights preserved outside court-defined sanctuary boundary. The compact responds, Vale pursuit unlawful against protected recovery asset. Compact recovery authority preserved outside sanctuary boundary. So both sides are now focusing on the boundary. The far mercy zone may be protected. The space before it is not. The damaged vessel is approaching a safe zone that may not become safe until it reaches the line. That creates a terrible possibility. It could be attacked before entering sanctuary. Earth has appealed to the silent courts for extension of sanctuary protection along the approach path. The silent courts response is pending. The vessel continues inward. We have new astronomical signatures beyond Saturn. Vale-associated objects appear to be accelerating inward along a shallow angle. Compact associated objects near Jupiter are shifting formation. The International Astronomical Coordination Group says it cannot confirm pursuit, but the timing is concerning. Again, no objects near Earth, no immediate public danger. But the war is moving in relation to the sanctuary case. The damaged vessel has become a test of Earth's declaration, a test of the silent courts, a test of whether the belligerents obey the law they seem to acknowledge, and perhaps a test of whether Earth's first moral statement can survive contact with military reality. We have the silent courts response now. It reads, restricted sanctuary protection extends to declared approach vector upon confirmed disarmament and continuous quarantine, belligerent pursuit within protection shadow prohibited. False sanctuary claim voids protection. The protection extends along the approach vector, not just the zone, if disarmament and quarantine are confirmed. The damaged vessel must continuously transmit disarmament and quarantine status. If it lies, protection may be void. The Vale response, Vale acknowledges protection shadow, verification demanded. The compact response, compact acknowledges protection shadow while maintaining recovery claim after review. Both sides acknowledge. For now, this is the second time tonight the silent courts have created a legal pause. Not peace, pause. And tonight, pause may be the difference between 12 survivors reaching the zone and 12 survivors becoming another flash in the telescope data. The vessel is transmitting disarmament status now. Scientists are trying to interpret it. There are structures in the data that seem to correspond to energy systems, weapon systems, propulsion systems, and biological containment. The vessel marks several systems as severed, several as non-functional, several as unknown. The silent courts have accepted the transmission as sufficient for provisional approach protection. The vessel is still moving. Earth is tracking. The world is watching numbers most people cannot understand, waiting for 12 lives no one can picture. That is where we are.
I want to say something to people listening who are feeling helpless right now. That feeling makes sense. Nothing about this is scaled to a person. You cannot go to the far mercy zone. You cannot help translate alien life support chemistry. You cannot move Jupiter. You cannot argue with the Meridian Compact or the Vale Astral Front or the silent courts. You cannot see the vessel in the sky. You cannot call the 12 survivors and tell them to hold on. And that kind of helplessness can turn into panic or anger or numbness. So maybe the human thing to do right now is smaller. Stay calm. Do not spread false images. Do not harass observatories or emergency lines. Do not turn fear into violence against people around you. Check on someone who is scared. Explain to a child only what you can honestly say. Tell them Earth is not being attacked right now. Tell them adults are trying to keep people safe. Tell them there are people very far away who need help and Earth is trying to help without joining a war. That is not the whole truth, but it is a truthful version a child can carry. And maybe adults need that version too. Earth is trying to help without joining a war. That is what tonight has become.
Earth is trying to help without joining a war. Yes, we have an update now from the UN emergency session. The Secretary General has formally requested that all nations treat the Far Mercy Zone as a unified Earth humanitarian perimeter. No individual nation is to transmit separate military claims, alliance offers, recovery permissions, targeting data, or sanctuary modifications. The purpose is to prevent fragmentation of Earth's position. That is important. If one government tries to make its own deal with the Compact or the Vale, Earth's duress classification could weaken. The silent courts recognized Earth as a local authority under duress. If Earth begins speaking in competing national voices, the belligerents may exploit that. There are already reports of some governments requesting side-channel communication with the Compact, others with the Vale. That is dangerous. The public statement urges unity. Humanity's non-belligerent position must not be divided into factional invitations. That is a strong line. Humanity's non-belligerent position must not be divided into factional invitations. In simpler terms, no one gets to privately invite the galaxy's war closer to Earth. We are now seeing domestic tensions rise in several countries. Some political factions are accusing their governments of weakness. Others accuse rival states of secretly preparing to align with one alien side. There are protests outside Space Agency headquarters in 3 capitals. Police are present. No major violence reported. This is another way the war can enter Earth, not through ships, through suspicion. If humanity begins accusing itself of alien alignment before any alliance exists, the war wins ground without firing. Mara, this is one of those places where I think the human politics could become dangerous very quickly.
Because humans are very good at turning fear into accusation. And this is the perfect fear for that. No one fully understands the messages. No one knows which alien side is worse. No one can see the ships. No one can verify intentions. So people will fill the gaps with politics they already had before tonight. They'll say the people they already distrusted are compact sympathizers, or Vale sympathizers, or cowards, or traitors, or warmongers. That could happen fast. And if the compact or the Vale are smart, and we should assume they are, they do not need to invade Earth to divide it. They only need to make every human government wonder whether another human government is cutting a deal. That is why a unified Earth position matters. Not because humanity is suddenly one big happy family. We are not, but because tonight division is a military vulnerability. If Earth becomes 12, 20, 50 competing access claims, then the war can shop for the weakest door and someone will open it. Maybe out of fear. Maybe out of ambition. Maybe because they think one side will protect them. Maybe because they think history will reward them for being first. But the first human government to invite a belligerent power into the solar system for advantage would not be leading Earth into the galaxy. It would be selling the locks while everyone else is still inside the house.
That is exactly the concern. The United Nations is now asking member states to suspend independent extraterrestrial response channels and route all official communications through the Unified Planetary Response Group. Enforcement is another question. There is no world government. There is no planetary command structure. Earth has never needed one. Tonight, that absence is visible. The compact recognized Sol, 3 local authority, but humanity does not have a single local authority in the political sense. It has nations, alliances, rivals, corporations, militaries, scientific bodies, private space operators, amateur astronomers, lunar stations under multinational agreements, satellites owned by governments and companies. Who speaks for Earth? Tonight, apparently, whoever can transmit fast enough may try. That is dangerous. The silent courts seem to treat Earth as a local emergence with provisional authority, but they may not understand our political fragmentation. Or maybe they understand it perfectly and are waiting to see whether we can act coherently. The damaged vessel is now within the projected approach shadow recognized by the silent courts. That means, if the translation is correct, pursuit or attack should now be prohibited under the restricted sanctuary doctrine. We have no new attack signatures at this moment. That is good. The vessel continues transmitting survivor status, biocount 12, atmosphere degradation slowing, thermal imbalance severe, radiation injury markers rising. Earth scientists have transmitted stabilization suggestions based on received life support chemistry. We do not know if they are useful. The vessel responded, primitive assistance received, interpreting primitive assistance. That is a humbling thank you, if it is a thank you. A few minutes later, the vessel transmitted thermal correction improved. So something Earth sent helped. Maybe a calculation, maybe a rerouting suggestion, maybe a material property, maybe just a model that matched enough. For the first time tonight, humanity has not only been addressed, threatened, classified, or warned. Humanity has helped 12 survivors remain alive, and one of our primitive suggestions may have improved their chances. I want to sit with that for a second, because in the middle of this cosmic legal and military crisis, a human technical team looked at alien life support data and helped reduce thermal imbalance aboard a damaged vessel from a war older than our maps. That is extraordinary, not enough to make us powerful, but enough to make us participants in mercy. Not the war mercy. The compact has requested access to the stabilization data Earth transmitted. Earth has denied, citing sanctuary confidentiality. The Vale has also requested access to verify no military assistance. Earth has offered to transmit the data to the silent courts for neutral review, but not to either belligerent. The silent courts accepted review custody. That is a careful move. Earth is learning fast. Do not give one side the data. Do not give the other side the data. Give it to the neutral body if the neutral body is truly neutral. Again, we do not know. But so far, the courts have been the only reason Earth is not fully trapped. We have another update from the vessel. It has provided a designation. Translators are struggling, but the closest human rendering is vessel of returning measure, or perhaps return measure. That may be a ship name. It may be a functional title. Return measure, the compact identifies it as a compact strategic survey and relay asset. The Vale identifies it as a compact forward coordination platform. Those sound different, but both imply it had military value. The vessel itself transmits former function irrelevant to present survival condition. That is an interesting statement. Former function irrelevant to present survival condition. That is exactly the humanitarian argument Earth made out of the fight, under distress, life first, the vessel is adopting that logic. Maybe because it benefits from it, maybe because it recognizes it. Either way, it helps Earth's case. The silent court's record now includes the vessel's acceptance of survival condition status. Legal teams are working at impossible speed. This is now part space rescue, part diplomatic arbitration, part war law, part first contact, part planetary identity crisis. And we are not even through the transit window. The original compact transit claim remains active. The compact cluster near Jupiter has not withdrawn. In fact, new data suggests several large objects are aligning along a trajectory that may use the same corridor Earth has refused to open militarily. The compact may be preparing to move regardless. The Vale formations beyond Saturn are spreading, possibly to intercept or strike. The silent courts have not ruled on the broader corridor claim. Earth's duress classification prevents Earth from being used as consent marker, but it may not physically stop transit. So the question becomes, what happens if the compact uses the corridor anyway? What happens if the Vale attacks the corridor anyway? What happens if the fight moves through the solar system while Earth is legally protected but physically nearby? A treaty does not stop debris. A court ruling does not block radiation. A sanctuary doctrine does not move planets out of the way. This is why scientists remain deeply concerned. Even if neither side targets Earth, a high-energy engagement in the inner solar system could damage satellites, produce debris, disrupt communications, affect probes, or create electromagnetic disturbances we cannot predict. War has physics. Law can restrain intent. It cannot erase blast. We have now received reports of minor satellite anomalies in medium Earth orbit. Operators say several satellites experienced brief sensor saturation, likely from deep space emissions. No major communications disruption yet. Navigation systems remain stable. Weather satellites functioning, crew and orbital platforms safe. Again, no immediate threat to the public, but the outer war is touching the instruments around Earth. The Far Mercy Zone operation continues. The vessel return measure is now expected to reach the outer edge of the zone within the next hour if current velocity reduction continues. That is faster than originally expected. Its propulsion is still far beyond ours. Even damaged, unscrewed human assets are not yet in position to physically assist. Most support remains remote. Data translation, trajectory tracking, radiation modeling, thermal correction suggestions, and legal protection. The vessel has transmitted images. This is breaking not visual images in a human-ready format, but structured spatial data that scientists are converting into approximations. We are not showing them yet. We will describe only what officials confirm. The interior appears to contain narrow compartments, pressure barriers, and clustered biological support pods. Some pods are inactive, 12 show activity. Several structural zones are open to vacuum or equivalent external exposure. There is no recognizable face, no alien body image publicly released, and that is probably wise. Humanity is not ready to turn 12 dying beings into viral images. Let them remain survivors, not spectacle. Mara, I know you feel strongly about that.
I do. Because the first image of non-human life should not be leaked from a damaged medical pod while people online make jokes and flags out of it. We need restraint here. Curiosity is natural. I feel it too. Everyone does. What do they look like? How do they move? Are they afraid? Do they understand us? Do they have families? Do they know we are trying? But if Earth wants to enter this moment with dignity, then the first duty is not to look, it is to help. We can learn later. We can study later. We can ask later if they live and if they are able to answer. But right now they are not proof of aliens for our entertainment. They are patients. That word matters, patients. Maybe not in a human hospital, maybe not with human bodies, but they are living beings under care. And if Earth remembers that, then maybe we deserve the sanctuary category we just declared.
That is the right word. Patience. The 12 survivors aboard return measure are now, in effect, patients under restricted sanctuary. That is humanity's first relationship with non-human life, not enemy, not visitor, not ambassador. Patient, there is something profound about that. The first beings we meet are not standing above us, not landing in triumph, not delivering wisdom. They are wounded, and we are frightened. That may be the most honest possible first contact. We have a new silent courts message. Sol, 3 sanctuary conduct recorded, humanitarian category provisionally strengthened, corridor belligerent claims remain under separate review. Humanitarian category provisionally strengthened. That suggests Earth's handling of return measure is improving our legal position. The compact responds, Compact contests continued quarantine but acknowledges strengthened humanitarian category. The Vale responds, Vale contests survivor status of command-linked entities but acknowledges court record. Both sides are unhappy. Both are acknowledging the court record. That is the best sign we have. Return measure is now approaching the far mercy zone boundary. Scientists are counting down not for impact, not for landing, but for legal entry. The vessel will cross into an area that exists only because Earth declared it and the silent courts recognized it. A region of space made meaningful by law and mercy. There it is. Return measure has crossed the boundary. The far mercy zone is active. The vessel is inside. No attack detected, no pursuit strike, no compact recovery entry, no Vale intercept. The vessel remains intact. Bio count 12. For the first time tonight, a non-human vessel is under Earth-declared sanctuary. Let that be recorded clearly. Earth has provided restricted humanitarian sanctuary to 12 non-human survivors from a galactic conflict while maintaining non-belligerent status under duress. The world did not know that sentence could exist this morning. Now it is our headline. But the larger crisis remains. The transit window is still open. The compact corridor claim remains active. Vale forces remain positioned. The silent courts have not yet ruled on corridor passage. The war has not ended. Only one vessel has reached mercy. And now the compact is moving. Astronomers report that the primary compact cluster near Jupiter has initiated coordinated acceleration along the projected corridor path. The Vale formations are responding. Multiple high-energy signatures detected beyond Saturn and near the Jovian region. The corridor event may be beginning. Earth's sanctuary success has not stopped the war. It may have only paused one thread of it. The next question is whether the compact transit will pass far enough from Earth to avoid direct danger, whether the Vale will attack inside the solar system, and whether the silent courts will impose any restriction before the fighting moves inward. We are waiting for the courts. We are waiting for the sky. We are waiting for powers we cannot see to decide whether the solar system is a road, a battlefield, or a place where a young world has some right not to be used. We are now continuing live coverage of the deep space emergency that has now placed Earth inside the legal, military, and moral pressure of an active galactic conflict. A damaged non-human vessel, translated by Earth teams as return measure, has successfully entered the far mercy zone, a restricted humanitarian sanctuary declared by Earth and provisionally recognized by the silent courts. There are 12 survivors aboard. Bio count remains 12. The vessel is damaged. Its military function has reportedly degraded beyond recovery. It has accepted quarantine, it has accepted neutral review, and for the moment, neither the Meridian Compact nor the Vale Astral Front has attacked it inside the sanctuary boundary. That is the good news. The larger news is more serious. The Meridian Compact has begun what appears to be a coordinated transit movement near Jupiter. Astronomers are tracking several large artificial signatures accelerating along what analysts believe may be the disputed Meridian Corridor. The Vale Astral Front is responding. Objects beyond Saturn and near the outer system engagement region are changing position. Multiple observatories have detected high-energy flashes, radio bursts, and gravitational sensor anomalies. The International Astronomical Coordination Group is not yet calling this an active battle inside the solar system, but privately, several scientists are using that word battle, not near Earth, not in our skies, not over our cities. But inside the solar system, that sentence alone is difficult to process. A battle may be unfolding near the outer planets, and Earth is trying to remain outside it while sheltering 12 survivors from one of its damaged vessels. The silent courts have not ruled on the broader corridor claim. They have recognized Earth's limited humanitarian sanctuary, recognized Earth's duress condition, and ruled that Earth may not be used as a legal consent marker during provisional review. But they have not declared the corridor closed. They have not declared compact transit unlawful. They have not declared Vale pursuit unlawful outside the sanctuary protection shadow. In other words, Earth has been protected from being drafted by paperwork. It has not been protected from the physics of war. That is where we are now. The compact movement is continuing. The Vale response is continuing. Return measures inside the far mercy zone. Human agencies are attempting remote stabilization. And every major government on Earth is trying to keep the planet from fracturing politically before the space crisis resolves. We have reports of protests in several capitals, some demanding full refusal of all alien contact. some demanding that Earth align with the Vale, some demanding that Earth recognize the compact in exchange for protection, some demanding that return measure be expelled from sanctuary to avoid making Earth a target. That last demand has been rejected by the United Nations Emergency Group. The statement is clear. Earth will not expel beings under recognized humanitarian sanctuary while their life support remains compromised. So the 12 survivors remain under Earth's protection, not because Earth can defend them militarily, because Earth has chosen to defend the meaning of sanctuary. Mara, I want you to speak to that before we move into the new astronomical data, because this is one of those moments where Earth's lack of power almost makes the choice more important.
Yes, because if Earth were powerful enough to protect the Far Mercy Zone with fleets and weapons, then sanctuary would be partly a military fact. But Earth cannot do that. Earth is protecting those survivors with a declaration, with law, with a plea to the silent courts, with public witness, and with the hope that the larger powers still care enough about legitimacy not to violate it. That makes the sanctuary fragile, but it also makes it morally clear. Earth is not helping because it benefits us. It may actually endanger us. Earth is not helping because the survivors are familiar. They are not. Earth is not helping because we know they are innocent. We do not. Earth is helping. Because the first test placed before us was whether a wounded life stops being worthy of aid when powerful armies argue over its status. And Earth said no. That may be the first truly planetary act humanity has ever taken, not landing on the moon, not sending probes, not broadcasting messages. Those were human achievements, yes, but they were not the whole planet speaking under pressure. Tonight, for once, Earth said something as Earth, not perfectly, not unanimously, not without fear, but clearly enough that the silent courts heard it. And I think that matters even if the war continues, maybe especially if the war continues, because it means our first entry into whatever larger civilization exists out there is not only as a frightened local authority, not only as a strategic inconvenience, not only as a primitive world near a corridor, it is as a world that said mercy is not enlistment. That is not enough to save us from everything, but it is something worth being.
It is something worth being. We have new data from the International Astronomical Coordination Group. The compact transit formation near Jupiter has split into 3 major tracks. The first appears to be following the projected meridian corridor path inward using what scientists describe as non-Keplerian acceleration. In simpler terms, the objects are moving in ways that do not match normal orbital mechanics. They may be using propulsion, field effects, gravity manipulation, or something else entirely. The second group is holding near Jupiter, possibly providing cover, stabilization, or relay support. The third group has shifted outward toward the Vale positions beyond Saturn. Vale-associated signatures are spreading in a crescent pattern. Analysts believe the Vale may be attempting to block or bracket the corridor path. Again, these terms are human approximations. We do not understand their tactics, but the pattern resembles interception. The silent courts have issued a new message. Belligerent transit claims remain unresolved. Engagement within Sol Local Preservation Radius prohibited pending review. The Sol Local Preservation Radius, that appears to refer to a protective zone around Earth or possibly the inner solar system. Translation teams are working. The courts continue transit actions generating material hazard to Sol. 3 inhabited body near-orbital instruments or sanctuary zone will constitute review violation. That is important. The silent courts are warning both sides that if their actions endanger Earth, its satellites, or the Far Mercy Zone, they may violate review. This is not a full ban on transit, but it is a constraint. The compact responds, quote, compact transit will observe preservation radius where militarily viable. Where militarily viable, that is not a perfect reassurance. The Vale responds. Vale interception will avoid Sol. Free inhabited body unless compact maneuver forces proximity. Unless compact maneuver forces proximity, also not reassuring. Both sides are leaving themselves excuses. If something goes wrong, each will blame the other. That is how wars work. We have a new high-energy flash near the outer edge of the Jovian region. Then another. Multiple observatories are now detecting a chain of events. The International Astronomical Coordination Group says there is no projected immediate impact on Earth, but several satellites are reporting interference from deep space radiation bursts. Communications remain stable. GPS and navigation networks remain operational, though some high-precision systems are experiencing minor timing noise. Orbital platforms report no danger to crew. The moon-based Kagami station remains operational. The Far Mercy Zone remains stable. Return measure continues transmitting. Biocount 12. Thermal correction holding. Radiation injury markers rising slowly. Earth's remote assistance appears to have improved thermal regulation, but not radiation shielding. Scientists are transmitting shielding suggestions using materials likely available aboard the vessel based on its own structural data. Imagine that human physicists and engineers trying to tell an alien vessel how to rearrange its damaged hull to protect survivors. Return measure has responded, primitive model useful. That is the second time tonight the vessel has called our assistance. Primitive and useful. I'll take it. We have a compact message directed at Earth. Sol, 3 local authorities advised to withdraw support from compact asset to avoid Vale exploitation of sanctuary category. This is interesting. Earlier, the compact objected to Earth's quarantine. Now it is advising withdrawal of support, claiming the Vale may exploit sanctuary. That may mean the compact is concerned Earth's sanctuary is strengthening Earth's legal status or limiting compact recovery rights or creating precedent the compact does not like. The Vale then sends Sol, 3 local authorities advised to terminate shelter of compact asset to preserve non-belligerent claim. Both sides are now telling Earth to stop helping. For different reasons, that may be the clearest sign Earth should continue. Mara.
Yes. If both sides want you to abandon the wounded, it may be because the wounded have become inconvenient to the war, not because helping them is wrong. The compact wants control of its asset. The Vale wants denial of its enemy's asset. Neither side is centering the 12 survivors as patients. Earth is. That is the difference, and I think this is where Earth has to be stubborn, not loud, not reckless. Stubborn. We said sanctuary. We meant sanctuary, not sanctuary, until it becomes politically awkward. Not sanctuary until it becomes politically awkward. Not sanctuary until it becomes politically awkward. Sanctuary, and maybe that is the kind of language these older powers are not used to hearing from a young world. Maybe they expected fear, compliance, silence, or opportunism. Maybe they did not expect a planet that can barely reach its own moon to argue the ethics of a war corridor. But that is what they found. They found us late, confused, divided, and scared. But they also found us capable of drawing a line.
Earth has transmitted a response to both belligerents. Restricted sanctuary remains active. Aid to survivors continues under silent courts review. Earth will not transfer tactical data, recovery access, targeting assistance, corridor confirmation, or military shelter to any belligerent party. Sanctuary will end only upon survivor stabilization, neutral transfer, or court determination. That is the strongest statement yet. Earth is refusing both demands. Aid continues, no tactical data, no recovery access. No targeting assistance, no corridor confirmation, no military shelter. Sanctuary remains. The silent courts have acknowledged the statement. Sol, free sanctuary conduct consistent. That is a short message, but important. Sanctuary conduct consistent. Earth is staying within the category it declared. Now, the corridor. The compact transit formation is approaching what scientists believe may be the inner threshold of the disputed route. If the formation continues, it may create energy effects that propagate through the inner solar system. We do not know if those effects are dangerous. Models are uncertain. The Vale interception pattern is tightening. The silent courts issue another warning. Material hazard to Sol. 3 preservation radius prohibited. The compact does not respond. The Vale does not respond. That silence is not good. We are now receiving multiple high-energy detections, 1 near Jupiter, 1 beyond Saturn, 1 between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. That third one is closer, still very far from Earth, but closer. The Asterian Solar Survey platform has entered protective mode. 2 Mars relay satellites report temporary loss of star tracking, deep space radio noise increasing. The International Astronomical Coordination Group says there is no current impact trajectory toward Earth. Again, no current impact trajectory toward Earth, but a debris cloud or field effect may cross portions of the inner solar system over the coming hours. Governments are moving satellites into protective orientation where possible. Orbital crews are sheltering in shielded sections as a precaution. Lunar station personnel are doing the same, not because an impact is expected, but because high-energy radiation or microdebris risk is uncertain. Earth's surface remains safe, that is the current guidance. The sky is not falling, but the sky is no longer uninvolved. We have new information from return measure. The vessel has detected the corridor engagement and is requesting continued sanctuary. It also transmits survivor testimony available if biocount preserved. Survivor testimony. That could matter legally. The 12 survivors may know what happened near Jupiter. They may be able to testify before the silent courts. They may provide evidence about compact transit, Vale attack, corridor claims, or emergency statute abuse. That may be why both sides want control. Not just asset recovery. Testimony the wounded are not only survivors, they may be witnesses. That changes everything. Earth has notified the silent courts that survivor testimony may be relevant to review and requested extended protection. The silent courts respond. Witness preservation accepted, sanctuary category strengthened. Witness preservation. Now the survivors are under both humanitarian and evidentiary protection. The compact responds after a delay. Compact contests hostile witness framing. The Vale responds. Vale demands testimony access. Earth responds. Testimony access through neutral review only. The silent courts acknowledge. Neutral review custody affirmed. This is extraordinary. Earth, a civilization that did not know galactic law existed 6 hours ago, has just helped move 12 survivors into protected witness status under a neutral authority. This may be why the legal route mattered. We could not stop fleets, but we could create a record. We could protect testimony. We could deny both sides exclusive control of the wounded. That may be our actual power tonight, not force. Record, witness. Mara, speak to that.
Witness is a form of power. That is true even here on Earth. A person who survives and can speak is dangerous to anyone who needs the story controlled. Maybe that is what return measure is now, not just a damaged vessel. A story neither side fully controls. And maybe Earth became important not because we can fight, but because we were outside the story until tonight. We are new enough, uninformed enough, not yet aligned enough that our sanctuary can become a place where testimony is not immediately swallowed by one side. That is fragile, obviously, but it is real. And it makes me think about the way this started. The compact tried to make Earth a consent marker. The Vale tried to make Earth a warning marker. Both tried to define what our actions would mean. Earth answered by becoming a witness marker, a place where the wounded could be held long enough to speak. That may be the first role we have in the galaxy. Not soldier, not ally, not corridor authority, witness. And maybe that is not small.
Witness is not small. The silent courts have now issued what appears to be a broader procedural order. Sol, 3 provisional sanctuary and witness preservation recognized. Belligerent transit through Sol preservation radius prohibited pending testimony review. Corridor access claims suspended within local hazard range. Vale interception claims suspended within local hazard range. Sol, 3 consent marker invalid during duress period. This is the largest ruling yet. Let me break it down. Earth sanctuary is recognized. Witness preservation is recognized. Belligerent transit through the Sol preservation radius is prohibited pending testimony review. The compact corridor claim is suspended within local hazard range. The Vale interception claim is suspended within local hazard range. Earth cannot be used as a consent marker during the duress period. This does not end the galactic war. It does not ban all activity in the outer solar system, but it appears to create a protected local zone around Earth and the sanctuary operation, at least temporarily. The compact responds. Compact registers procedural objection. Transit adjustment initiated. Transit adjustment initiated. The Vale responds. Vale registers procedural objection. Interception adjustment initiated. Both sides are adjusting. Not withdrawing, but adjusting. Astronomers confirm the compact formation is shifting trajectory. Vale signatures are also shifting. The most dangerous projected paths through the inner solar system appear to be widening away from Earth's preservation radius. This is preliminary, but if confirmed, Earth's legal position and the witness protection ruling have forced the war to bend around us, not because we threatened them, because the silent courts created consequences neither side wanted to trigger. For the first time tonight, the solar system feels slightly less like an open road and more like a place with a boundary, a temporary one, a fragile one, but a boundary. We are receiving reports from observatories that the high-energy signatures are now concentrating farther from the inner solar system. Radiation noise is decreasing slightly in Earth-directed bands. Mars relays remain unstable but recovering. Orbital platforms remain sheltered but safe. Lunar station safe. Far Mercy zone stable. Return measure remains intact. Biocount. 12. Radiation markers stabilizing after hull rearrangement based partly on Earth modeling. The vessel transmits Sol, 3 assistants preserved biocount. That means Earth helped keep all 12 alive. I want to repeat that. Sol, 3 assistants preserved biocount. Earth helped keep them alive. This does not erase the danger. It does not solve the war. It does not mean the survivors are innocent or that their testimony will favor any side. But 12 living beings who might have died are still alive in part because human scientists, engineers, translators, and diplomats worked through fear instead of freezing. That matters. The UN Secretary General is speaking again. He says, Earth remains non-belligerent, Earth remains under duress, Earth will continue to provide restricted humanitarian support under neutral review. We call upon all external parties to respect the preservation radius recognized by the silent courts and to refrain from any act that endangers our world, our satellites, our stations, or the sanctuary operation. Humanity did not seek this conflict. Humanity will not join this conflict, but humanity will not abandon life in distress to satisfy the logic of war. Strong statement. The Compact and Vale have not responded directly. The silent courts have repeated Sol 3 non-belligerent under duress. Provisional period active. That is the current status. Non-belligerent under duress. Provisional period active. By morning, that may become the phrase every child on Earth learns, because tonight, Earth's status in the galaxy changed. We are no longer unknown. We are no longer simply a planet sending radio noise into the dark. We are registered, classified, pressured, protected perhaps, watched certainly, and now tied to a record in a war older than our civilizations. Mara, I want to give you a final long section before I close because this is the emotional landing of the episode. Earth survived the first night, but it did not return to the old universe.
No, it didn't. And I think that is what people are going to feel when the immediate fear starts to fade. The world is still here. The sun will come up. People will make coffee. Children will ask if school is open. Governments will hold briefings. Scientists will keep watching Jupiter. The internet will be unbearable. People will argue about the Compact and the Vale and the silent courts like they understand them after 6 hours. But underneath all of that, something permanent has happened. The universe is no longer empty in the way we thought it was. And maybe more importantly, it is no longer innocent. It has law, war, procedure, coercion, claims, courts, refugees, wounded, witnesses. It has all the things we hoped might be universal. That is a lot to wake up to. And I keep thinking about the phrase, not powerful but responsible. That is Earth tonight. Not powerful enough to stop a fleet. Not powerful enough to enforce peace. Not powerful enough to understand the law we were suddenly placed inside, but responsible once a wounded vessel asked for sanctuary. Responsible once our words could be used as consent. Responsible once silence could become permission. Responsible once being small was no longer an excuse to be morally absent. That is frightening. But it is also, maybe, the beginning of maturity. Not the grand kind, not the kind where humanity stands proudly among the stars as equals. We are not there. Maybe we will not be for a long time. This is a smaller, harder maturity. The maturity of saying, we do not understand everything, but we understand enough not to let someone else write our first answer for us. The Compact wanted access. The Vale wanted denial. Earth said sanctuary. That is not everything, but it is ours. And maybe when the record of tonight is read by powers we cannot imagine, by courts we do not understand, by survivors we may never meet face to face, they will know this about us. When the war reached our system, we were afraid, but we did not let fear make mercy illegal. That is something. That is a beginning.
We are now approaching dawn in several parts of the world. The immediate situation, as of this broadcast, Earth remains classified by the silent courts as a non-belligerent local authority under duress. The Far Mercy Zone remains active. Return measure remains inside restricted sanctuary. Biocount remains 12. Earth assistance has helped stabilize life support. The 12 survivors may provide testimony under neutral review. The Meridian Compact has adjusted its transit path after procedural objection. The Vale Astral Front has adjusted its interception path after procedural objection. The corridor claim remains unresolved outside the local hazard range. The Galactic War continues, but the most dangerous projected paths have shifted away from Earth's preservation radius. No attacks on Earth, no objects in Earth atmosphere, no confirmed hostile movement toward Earth's surface. Orbital platform safe, lunar station safe, Mars relays recovering, public guidance remains calm vigilance. No evacuations, no shelter orders, no reason to panic, but also no return to ignorance. That may be the hardest part. We cannot unknow this. We cannot unhear the Compact demand. We cannot unhear the Vale warning. We cannot unreceive the silent court's classification. We cannot pretend Jupiter is only a planet in a school book tonight. We cannot pretend our probes are traveling through empty history. We cannot pretend that when we send something into the dark has no borders, no wars, no laws, no witnesses. The solar system has become a place on someone else's map, and Earth has become a name in someone else's record. That record tonight says, Saul, 3 emergence registered, local authority provisional, informed consent absent, duress conditions substantiated, restricted sanctuary recognized, witness preservation accepted. Non-belligerent under duress, those are cold phrases, alien phrases, legal phrases. But inside them is the story of what happened here. A young world was told to choose a side in an ancient war. It refused the categories. A wounded vessel asked for sanctuary. Earth answered. 2 powers objected. A court listened. The war bent slightly around a planet that could not move it. By force, that is not triumph. It is not safety. It is not membership in some peaceful galactic community. It is not the beginning we would have chosen. But it is the beginning we have. And now every human generation after this one will live with a different sky. Not visibly different, maybe. The stars will look the same tonight to most people. Orion will rise, the moon will reflect sunlight, Jupiter will shine like a bright point. Children will point at it and be told, maybe not everything at once, but eventually that the first battle humanity ever witnessed beyond Earth began near that light. They will be told about the compact, the Vale, the silent courts. The Far Mercy Zone, return measure, the 12 survivors, they will be told that Earth was almost made into a signature on someone else's war document, and they will be told what we said instead. We did not know of this war. We did not consent to this war. We will not be drafted into this war by procedure. Mercy is not enlistment. That may be what survives longest. Not the technical data, not the legal classification, not the fear, the sentence. Mercy is not enlistment. The war is still out there. The compact and the Vale have not made peace. The corridor remains contested. Earth's protection is provisional. The review remains active. There will be more messages, more demands, more fear, more decisions that come before understanding. But tonight, Earth remained alive. Earth remained neutral. Earth became known, and somewhere beyond the moon, 12 beings from a war we did not start remain alive under a sanctuary we invented because no existing category was good enough. By morning, Earth was still neutral, still alive and no longer unknown. Good night.